ready to feel the heat. We're diving into a match that's known for its passion, its energy, and yeah, maybe a few fireworks along the way. Aries and Aries compatibility, two rams in love.
Oh, this is a fun one.
It's going to be a wild ride, so buckle up. We're digging into some really interesting excerpts from an astrology reading that lays it all out there. No sugarcoating here, folks.
Raw and real, just like Aries themselves.
Exactly. So let's talk about that Aries energy for a second. Ruled by Mars, the planet of action, drive, sometimes a little aggression.
A little. They practically invented my way or the highway.
Right. So what happens when you double down on that? Two Aries together. Is that a recipe for disaster or like the most dynamic power couple ever?
It can definitely be a bit of both. The
Yeah.
reading actually uses this great metaphor. It's like having two suns in a relationship.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Two suns.
It's not that one is trying to outshine the other. It's more that both of them have this innate need to radiate their own light, to be the center of their own universe, in a way.
And that can lead to some clashes, I imagine.
You can say that again. I mean, think about it. Two people used to taking charge, making things happen their way.
And probably not the best at backing down.
Exactly. That's the Mars influence coming through. Action first, think later. The reading actually compares it to banging their heads against a brick wall.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that part. Not exactly the most subtle imagery.
Nope. Aries don't do subtle.
So where's the, actual love in all of this? Is it all just headbutting and power struggles?
No, there's definitely love. But it's important to understand how that Mars energy plays out in relationships. Mars might bring the initial spark, the attraction, the chase.
Okay, so what's missing?
Venus.
Venus, as in romance.
Yes. A planet of love, relationships, all the mushy stuff.
Yeah.
The reading talks about how for a relationship to really thrive, especially in the long term, you need a balance of that Martian fire and Venusian tenderness.
And the text kind of hints that two Aries might need to work a little harder on that Venus side of things, right?
A little encouragement never hurts.
Yeah.
It's not that they aren't capable of deep emotion, because they are, but sometimes that fiery exterior can make it harder to see. They might need to be a little more intentional about cultivating those softer, more nurturing qualities.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom for these fiery rams. There's actually potential for some serious depth there. But how do they get there? How do you even begin to balance all that intensity?
Well, believe it or not, Saturn plays a big role.
Saturn, as in restrictions and limitations. What does that have to do with love?
Saturn gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
It's not about being restrictive. It's about those hard-earned lessons, the ones that come from challenges, maybe even a few mistakes along the way.
So those I should have listened to my gut moments.
Exactly. And for an Aries, those Saturnian lessons often revolve around patience, long-term thinking, learning that sometimes the most fulfilling path isn't always the most impulsive one.
Okay, so two impulsive rams and Saturn walks in. Sounds like the start of a cosmic joke. But I'm starting to see how it all fits together.
It's about finding that balance, right? Yeah. Fire and the structure.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really interesting.
So we've got the challenges, the Mars-Venus dynamic. But the reading also mentions something about mastering the art of staying calm. I'm not going to lie, that sounds a little impossible for two people who practically wrote the book on impulsivity. How does that even work?
It's not about suppressing their true nature. It's more like finding healthy ways to let that Mars energy out and learning how to actually talk about what they need from each other.
So instead of, say, storming out of a room mid-argument, the staying calm Aries. Right?
Exactly. They might just say, hey, let's just take a break, 10 minutes, come back to this when we both cooled off. It's still going after what they need, still action-oriented, but it keeps those little disagreements from blowing up.
Okay, I can see that. It's about directing the fire, not pretending it's not there. But honestly, is that realistic in the heat of the moment? It just seems like with two Aries, things could go from 0 to 60 pretty fast.
It takes practice, for sure. And that's where being really self-aware is so important. Both people need to get to know their own triggers, how they communicate, and be willing to meet in the middle. And that's where the real magic of this pairing can happen.
Okay, so there's hope for us hotheads after all. But learning to stay calm, that's work. And even with the best intentions, those sparks are going to fly sometimes. So tell me, when two Aries really click, when that Martian fire finds its match, what makes this such an incredible pairing? What's the magic?
Oh, the magic is off the charts. Remember, we're talking about two people who value being genuine, being real above everything else. No pretending. They just bring their whole selves to the table, and they want that same realness from their partner.
So no games? No hiding how they really feel?
Forget about it. Aries are practically human lie detectors. They'll see right through any BS, and they won't put up with it. They'd rather have a knockdown, drag-out fight than tiptoe around an issue.
Yeah.
And that kind of rawness, that willingness to be vulnerable, it's crazy how much it can bring them closer.
It's like they push each other to be their most authentic selves, even when it's messy.
Right, exactly. And that is honestly so refreshing in a world that's always telling us to hide who we really are. And speaking of authenticity, the reading makes this really cool connection between Aries and that whole Robin Hood archetype.
Okay, now that got my attention. Are we talking archery dates and fighting for the underdog here? Because honestly, that sounds kind of amazing.
Well, maybe not literally,
Yeah.
but it speaks to that deep down sense of justice that's like a core part of who Aries are.
Hmm.
They're all about standing up for what they believe in, fighting for the little guy. And they have so much respect for a partner who feels that same fire.
So it's way more than just surface level attraction. It's about finding someone who gets them, who shares their values, their passion for life, that drive to make things better. They want a partner, someone to, I don't know, take on the world with, or at least fight the good fight alongside.
You got it. And that shared purpose, that let's do this thing energy that can be seriously powerful for two Aries, it's about finding that one person who not only accepts their wild hearts, but actually loves them for it.
It's like they bring out the best in each other, the most courageous, most passionate parts of themselves. But let's be real for a second. With two people who are that driven, that independent, don't they ever bump heads?
Oh, totally. Remember those two sons? It's a balancing act, finding that sweet spot between their own needs and the needs of the relationship. One of the biggest things for this pairing is figuring out when to take the lead and when to step back and let the other person shine.
Because they're both naturals at being in charge, right?
Yeah.
How does that even work? Does one of them just kind of become the calm one?
Not really. It's more about realizing that their partner's need to be independent is just as strong as their own. It's about giving each other space to breathe, to do their own thing, even if that means spending a little time apart.
So it's like that saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Maybe a little less distance. We are talking about Aries here. But yeah, that need for space is definitely important.
Totally. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
you know, being close and connected, but also honoring the fact that they're both independent people.
Hmm.
It's not about trying to change who they are. It's about understanding that needing your own space, it doesn't have to be a bad thing for the relationship.
So less you complete me and more like you challenge me to be the best, most badass version of myself.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
And that is so important to an Aries. Remember, we're talking about people who are drawn to growth, to pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
So a relationship that lets them do that both on their own and as a couple, that's where the real magic happens.
It's like they thrive on that push and pull, that constant dance between me and we.
100%. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's a high energy connection, lots of passion, lots of intensity, and a love that just keeps evolving.
We've talked about the challenges, the potential downsides, but ultimately, isn't there also just this deep understanding between two Aries? They experience the world in a similar way. They share that same core fire. It's almost like looking in a mirror, but like a really exciting, unpredictable mirror.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, that's what can make it so incredibly fulfilling. When they figure it out, when they find that balance, it's a relationship that's full of passion support, and it's never, ever boring.
Which brings us to the question everyone's probably wondering. Can it actually work? Can two flames really merge without one of them burning out?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And like most things in life and love, the answer is it depends. It depends on who these two people are, how willing they are to grow, and if they're both committed to really understanding each other's needs and their own.
Okay, so it's not an impossible mission. There's hope for all those fiery Aries couples out
For
there.
sure. And remember, astrology isn't about some predetermined fate. It's about understanding the energies involved, the potential challenges and rewards that come with any combination.
It's about using that information as a tool to grow, to understand each other better, and to build relationships that are strong and fulfilling. And there you have it. We dove headfirst into the passionate, fiery, and let's be honest, sometimes chaotic world of Aries and Aries compatibility. It seems like that independent spirit, one of Aries' greatest strengths, is also the thing that can make or break this pairing. Can those two flames truly become one without losing what makes them burn so brightly? Something to think about. Until next time, keep those sparks flying.